What is up, guys? This is episode 2 of the Funny Money Podcast. We have some new members today. AJ, say hi.
Hi, I'm AJ. I'm repping the Zion.
Yes, sir. Ramel
What's up? Giannis!
and Cam.
Yo, it's good. We repping the Jordan jersey because he
Yes,
better
sir.
than LeBron.
All right. So today, well, first off, I want to thank everyone who watched our first episode. We got almost 100 views, which may not seem like a lot, but it's definitely, it makes us makes us want to continue making more podcasts. So, Zach, without further ado, can you introduce, what we're going to be talking about today?
All right. So today, with the main idea of today's video, I have 30 players, and we're going to be discussing if they're overrated, perfectly rated, or underrated. So let's start off. The first player is John Morant. Would anyone like to say?
Overrated, way too overrated.
Why is that? Why is he overrated?
People think he's top 5. He's not even close.
I don't think anyone sees he's top 5.
Who thinks he's top 5?
Yeah, who thinks
Alex
he's
thinks he's
five?
top
Not one
5.
person besides Alex.
Yeah. Yeah. I think John Morant is overrated. People think he's like a really good point. I mean, he's just athletic.
Nah, I
the
think
dude
his
the
injury,
dude's a lot of bounce. But
his
I mean,
injury
he shoots
definitely didn't help.
terrible from 3. He's just another athletic dude that can dunk.
I agree. John Morant is completely overrated. I don't like that people still compare him to Trae Young. And I know everybody hates Trae Young because of the way he plays, but obviously Trae Young, just look at the numbers. He just does more. I get Jaw's athletic. He's fun to watch, but come on now.
I also feel like it's pathetic because there's still people out there that think that Ja is better than Zion, which I think is bogus. I mean, Zion, this is the beast out there, and Ja's just all credit to Ja. He's a good player, but he's the typical athletic point guard. So, Sean, would you like to express yourself on this?
I completely think Ja's overrated. I've seen some people say he's like top 10 point guard or say he's better than De'Aaron Fox, and I just think that's not true at all. Grizzlies fans take it a little too far, so I think he's overrated.
Yeah, I do feel like De'Aaron Fox is better than him. All right, AJ, you want to go?
I feel as if Ja won the Rookie of the Year by default. Zach. All right, I feel he won the Rookie.
AJ, get it together.
Bro,
Yeah, AJ,
bro,
come
Zach's
on.
laughing. Zach's laughing at me.
Come on
All
now,
right.
AJ. Come on.
No, I'm not laughing
Bro,
at you.
I feel I
Get it
feel he
together.
won his Rookie of the Year.
What was that? AJ, just talk.
He won the Rookie of the Year by default because even though Zion played 19 games, like 19-20, and he just outperformed Ja, and he only won it because Zion he didn't really qualify to win Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right,
I feel like
Lewis,
it
would
was
you like
undeserved.
to talk about this, Lewis?
Honestly, yeah, I guess Ja could be overrated because people he's just a worse Russell Westbrook. That's all he is. Russell Westbrook's a slightly better shooter, but a better finisher.
Or
And-
okay, Lewis,
Westbrook is
slightly better
probably
shooter. I'm not so sure about that. Westbrook is a brick and a half.
better finisher.
I would like to add to this. I definitely think he's a little overrated, but I mean, at the same time, I think he's like perfectly rated. We all know that he's definitely hasn't taken the step like that we thought he would take this year, but he's not having a bad year by any means. His shooting is pretty pathetic, but on top of that, I do think that injury has kind of slowed him down. He's had no Jaren Jackson. So it'll be interesting to see, when he's, I think, fully healthy, fully 100%, and, he has some of his supporting cast around him. It'll be very interesting to see. And on top of that, what is his shooting percentage from 3?
I think it's like in the 20s or like low 30s, something like that.
Let's see. His 3-point percent, he is shooting 25% from 3. That's horrible. He's taking almost 4 attempts a game too. So that is horrible. So
Yeah.
I definitely could see though that you could think he's overrated, but yeah, Zion's definitely much better. I don't even think it's a debate anymore.
All right, Cam, what are your thoughts on this? You agree with Eric?
Yeah, I completely agree with Eric. Like, he's definitely overrated, but I don't want to take anything away from Ja. Like, he's still a very athletic person. He still has a bunch of potential, but he hasn't been, like Eric said, like he didn't take the next step. And Zion has pulled away. I forgot who said it earlier, but Zion was basically taken out of the Rookie of the Year race, and I think that if he wasn't, he would have won it. But I think Ja's still a bit overrated.
Can I ask a
All right.
question?
Yes,
How do you
Matthew.
guys feel about Trae Young? Overrated, perfect, or underrated?
We're getting that. That's
yeah, no,
Pick 'em,
save
bro.
that for
Let's talk
later.
about let's talk about Trae
Because
Young.
I feel like
Well,
Trae
let's
Young's.
let's just go down the list. Get him out.
I feel like Trae Young's in a spot in the Hawks where he doesn't have the best teammates, doesn't have bad teammates, not the best team, not the worst team. So I
Matt,
feel like he's
we actually have Trae Young for later, so we'll talk
We'll
about
talk
that
about it
later
now.
when
It
it
doesn't
comes
matter.
up.
Doesn't
No,
matter.
what the host hosts.
Let it happen.
Just talk about him later. All right. So next up, we have the infamous player that Eric loves to hate, Andre Drummond. We'll have Eric start off with his thoughts on Andre Drummond. Eric.
If unless like I don't know how you could really see him being a great player. You could look at the stats. You could see, 20 points and 15 rebounds. This guy's a beast. Why is he, being bought out and he's getting a veteran minimum? If you actually watch the game and see Drummond's significance, it is just he's irrelevant. Kind of, his rebounding plus or minus is one of the worst in the league, which is insane because he gets like 15 rebounds a game. So his rebounding contributes very little to his team. He's not a great shooter. He's not a good shooter at all. He only gets his rebounds based on the fact that he shoots 43% on layups, and he'll just get his own rebound. With that being said, I don't think his addition to the Lakers is as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. I do think it will help, and it'll be very interesting to see how he plays alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But I think he's definitely overrated. But I feel like people are definitely starting to realize that he is not as good of a player as the stats may say.
I have a question for you, Eric, about that specifically. Eric, how would you feel if the Nets got Andre Drummond instead of LaMarcus Aldridge and that come out? Would you feel more liked Andre Drummond, or would you still feel the same?
I mean, as a fan, your bias definitely will show, and I would probably be telling you guys that Andre Drummond, he's underrated, he's overhated, stuff like that. But just looking from a statistical standpoint and just watching the man play, he's not that great. And I do think LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin were good pickups for the Nets. Blake Griffin especially, because I feel like while LaMarcus Aldridge, he's 35, he has an excuse. I definitely think Blake Griffin, he didn't want to play in Detroit. Let's be real. I think he's going to make a huge impact for Brooklyn, especially down the line in the playoffs.
But I'm not so sure about Blake, but I definitely agree with Drummond too. It's like a casual. I mean, no one's like saying that he's the best, but to the casual NBA fan, he is overrated. He's a type of player where he's worse than what his box score stats show. All right, Mel, you haven't spoken in a while. You want to talk about Andre Drummond?
I think Andre Drummond is overrated. He's a bum. He can't do anything for the Lakers. Bucks and four.
All right. All right. Would anyone else like to go? Lewis, go ahead.
I think he's overrated right now, but we don't know how he's going to do with the Lakers. So he's underrated right now with the Lakers because he could end up balling out with the Lakers and making that like a tough competition for the Nets because he does play that defense. He doesn't really need to score because he has LeBron and Anthony Davis on that team. He can just sit there and try to get boards because Anthony Davis and LeBron are just such good scorers. So we got to see his role with the Lakers and see if he's good with that role before we call him overrated. I want to say he's perfectly right now.
All right, yeah. So we're gonna go to our next player. Our next player is, he's what's keeping me a Nets player. He's one of my favorite players, Nicholas Claxton. I think he's very underrated.
Oh God, no! Please no! Oh my God.
Cam, would you like to talk about Nick Claxton?
Yeah, no, I don't like him at all. I don't really care how he is as a player. I do not respect anyone with that hairstyle. Just no.
All right, he's throwing a party out
Zach.
there. I mean, Nick Claxton, I feel like he's very underrated. The dude is raw. He's very athletic. He's good on defense. I mean, I feel like Moses Brown, another underrated player, would be a better fit for the Nets right now. But I feel like Claxton could end up being the better player just because he has more offensive potential than Moses. AJ, you're shaking your head here. The Thunder fan, would you like to chime in?
Moses Brown starting to making. 2 years from now, he's gonna be a top 5 rebounder. I promise you.
All right. Would anyone else like to go? Ryan, we haven't heard from you in a while. You'd like to?
No.
All right. So Matt, would you like to go?
I just like to shut AJ down on that. As much as Moses Brown does have the potential to be better than Claxton, as of right now, the number one problem revolving on Claxton is his endurance. He's always out or in. He pays very little. I feel like over the year, he's gonna get better, more endurance, play more often. He's gonna become a lot better. Better than Moses Brown.
Matt, I'd like to chime in. It's not about his endurance; it's how much the coach is playing him. It's
I
playing
disagree with
time.
that
It's
statement.
not his endurance.
A lot of the time, he's very tired. You can see it. He can't perform due to his tiredness.
Matt, I don't know
Is
where you're getting this
tiredness a
from.
word?
The NBA isn't track, but Nick Claxton. I mean, he gets streaky minutes. I mean, he's a rookie.
Watch the game,
he's
bro.
not
He gets tired.
All right, sure, Matt. All right, we're gonna move on to a player that plays for Mel's favorite team, Drew Holiday. I feel like Drew Holiday is very underrated. People forget how much the Bucks need Drew Holiday. I mean, you saw in the beginning of the season when Drew Holiday wasn't playing. I mean, he was struggling. The Bucks were struggling. I mean, they were losing to poverty franchises. But when Drew Holiday came back, the team melded together. He's that defensive guard that the Bucks need for the playoffs, as Bledsoe clearly wasn't cutting it. I mean, and as we clearly see, the Bucks can win without Giannis. I mean, there's a good team, and I'd like to see them in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'll just say that.
Wait, Zach. Can we go back to
Yes.
Claxton? I just find it interesting you put him on this, considering who thinks he's overrated. Like, I don't think he's.
No, just rate him. Just rate Nick Claxton.
I just think he's overrated by Nets fans, but like any other fan, he's like.
All right, that's
He's
fair.
a nobody.
Mhm.
All right,
Well, I want to speak on Drew Holiday real quick.
all right.
All right, you can go, Ramel.
He's underrated. He's a top defender. I think we needed Drew Holiday, and I think we're gonna make the finals this year.
I want to speak on Drew Holiday. I think he's underrated as well. He's a really great two-way player. He's one of the best in the league, and I think he's going to really help the Bucks make their Eastern Conference Finals push this year.
Yeah, I agree with Sean. Like, he's very underrated in the fact that I feel like he's one of, if not the best defensive point guards in the league, or guards just in general. And he's also
Marcus Smart's.
Yeah, Marcus Smart's is
Marcus
pretty
Smart
good.
is
but
not good.
I
think
think-
Drew
I
Holiday
think-
is better.
I think that Drew Holiday is way better than Marcus Smart. And like
Mhm.
like you were talking about how the Bucks were losing to poverty franchises before he came. Like, I would say that like arguably before him or Giannis, the Bucks were arguably a poverty franchise. But then like with with Drew and Giannis coming in, I feel like that just like elevated them to a new level, and they're doing really well this season.
Okay. Sorry for the pause. We had a little problem with Zoom, so we're just gonna resume right back into our podcast. So, next up is Kyrie Irving. You already know what I'm gonna say. I think he's underrated because that man is averaging 28 points a game on ridiculous efficiency. He's been a huge part of that Nets team, and it's kind of ridiculous that when they made that Harden deal, we all thought that Kyrie should have been traded. Stephen A. Smith said that he should have retired. So I definitely think he's underrated, and AJ seems to agree with me and Sean. So
I don't
you
agree.
guys want
with
to speak in the
Hey,
matter?
let me chime in here. I'm gonna just say it. Kyrie's got the best handles in the league, potentially the best of all time. You make the argument. We're not gonna do it now though, but it's just crazy that people like to say that he's not a big asset. That he may not be able to solo carry a team, as people say, but he's definitely has the best handles in the league and a top 5 point guard right now.
yeah, I think he's overrated. He just lost to the Bulls. He just lost to the Bulls.
Okay. We can't come on. One
knows-
loss, and the Bulls are. It's not like that's like saying they lost to the Knicks. The Knicks
I
are
know,
not
but he
bad,
just
and the
showed that he
Bulls are not
can't-
bad.
He just showed that he can't win on its own. He needs help. He needs help. He did it. We showed it with the Celtics, and he's showing
It
it
was same
again.
with the Celtics. Tatum needs help, boy. Tatum needs help.
Well,
Tatum and
that's
Jaylen Brown.
Celtics.
What happened? What happened, bro?
You
What
fail to
happened?
realize
What
in
happened against the Heat? What
2018.
happened against the Heat? What happened against
No,
Jimmy
Zach,
Butler? Huh?
Zach.
What happened?
In 2018, if Kyrie Irving remained healthy in that playoffs, the Celtics probably, most definitely, probably would have been in the finals. So
I don't agree with that. I think
they
LeBron is
they
the
brought
best of all
LeBron to
time.
7 games.
Yeah, LeBron will not lose a game 7.
Okay,
Trust that.
personally,
have
I
gone to
think
6.
Lewis is a bit angry right now that Kyrie left the Celtics. I think there's still a
I
little
don't,
bit of
I don't
like
want to Kyrie
bitterness
leave.
there. Lois, we understand. You're a bit mad right now. It's okay.
I don't like Kyrie, but he needs help to win.
Personally, I think Kyrie's like rated pretty good, like at where he is. I don't think he's over or underrated too much. Like he's seen as a top point guard in the league, and I
he's
think that's what he
definitely-
is right now.
No, he's definitely overrated with Nets fans because I hear Nets fans saying he's better than Damian Lillard, which is just outrageous.
Well,
I think he's rated perfectly.
I don't think he's overrated
Yeah, it's
or
very debatable.
underrated. I think he's overhated. That's probably a better word to describe
No.
Kyrie.
Well, the fan base has lots to contribute to why he's overhated, including the 2 Lavins in this podcast with us.
That's
Well,
very
no,
true.
like-
It's very true.
Let's be real. The Celtics were horrible to Kyrie. I think they kind of took him for granted. And look, Kyrie, he's a weird guy, and he's definitely, there's definitely a lot of things that he does that you can hate him for. But for the most part, I definitely think that, I think he's a top 3 point guard, top 4 in the league, and I'd say he's overhated and underrated at the same time. All right.
He could be underrated when he can win by himself.
Shut
Lewis,
up.
Lewis, what happened against Jimmy Butler? What happened against Jimmy Butler? You guys have underperformed every year.
Okay.
It's not gonna change this year too.
Next on our list.
Yo, Lewis, chill.
Next topic.
All right, next on our list we have. Let's do Trae Young. Trae Young's a really interesting player.
I hate him.
Well, last year he was probably one of the most liked players in the league. He was an all-star starter, and he was averaging 30 points a game. But now this year, I think ever since when Steve Nash said that's not basketball and put a spotlight on his style of play, Trae Young is definitely, is probably one of the more hated players in the league, and I just find that really interesting. So Ryan,
I think Trae Young is, well, I wouldn't say like overrated. I can't explain. I feel like he's overhated despite his skill level and what he does. I know it sucks the way he plays. It's horrible to watch him, but you can't ignore putting up like 27 points a game, absolute carrying the Hawks. Like he's just a great player on a pretty bad team that puts up good numbers. And I know the way he plays, but I think he's overhated. He might be a little underrated because of that.
yeah, I definitely agree.
I
Sean,
think I think Trae Young is slightly underrated only because people really hate him this year, but people don't like to realize that he's absolutely carrying the Hawks to a playoff run right now while putting up ridiculous stats. So I think he's underrated.
when we're on the topic of Hawks and playoff run, can we talk about how good of a job Nate McMillan's done ever since filling in for that Hawks coach spot? That team just completely did a 180. We're kind of seeing, Gallo is kind of back to his normal shape. Bogdanovich is back. The Hawks, are they going to go anywhere in the playoffs? Probably not. They'll be a first round exit most likely, but they're a fun team to watch. They're young, and I think it'll be interesting, especially to see Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter develop. I definitely think Cam Reddish will be a great player. So I don't know. The Hawks are they're in a pretty good situation besides the John Collins situation. It'll be interesting to see. So, are we good with Trae Young? Anyone want to make more points?
Yeah. I wanted to talk about DeAndre Hunter a little bit because I feel like he was having an amazing sophomore year, and it's a shame that it got cut in the middle because of a knee injury. I think I agree with what you said. Like him and Cam Reddish have very bright futures. So I want to see how the Hawks develop, and I think that Trae Young right now is a bit overhated. Like I don't like the way he plays, but he's still a very good player when it comes to being one of the best point guards in the league right now.
All right.
Hold on, I'll talk. I don't feel like he's overrated. I don't see anyone like saying Trae Young is good. Honestly, I feel like he got so like overrated. He's like overhated to where he's like underrated, like Kyrie. I mean, Trae Young's a talented scorer, but like no one, I've never seen like anyone say like Trae Young's like, oh, he's one of the best point guards. I mean, it's bogus. I mean, Trae is Trae Young. I mean, he's a scorer. What he does may be cheesy, but it works. I mean, KD had that little cheesy move that he did. Same with Dwayne Wade. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's all I have to say.
Trae Young is kind of like Devin Booker. They're scorers. They don't like to play defense. So they're
Oh,
not,
well, let's take it easy.
Okay.
Devin Booker
Is
is
Devin
a
Booker that good
dog.
at defense? He's not that good.
Lewis, what? It's Devin Booker.
Lewis mute.
All right, let's move
No more
on.
Lewis takes today.
A kind of player, similar to Trae Young, who everyone loved him last year, and now this year he's kind of hated. Pascal Siakam. What are your guys' thoughts on him?
Fake superstar.
Fake superstar. How come?
Agreed.
He's just not that talented, in my opinion. I think he's a built-in star on that Raptors team, and he just doesn't impress me.
I agree. I was listening to, I think, Charles Barkley, and Charles said, or no, Charles or Shaq, one of them, they said he was like kind of forced to be a superstar. Like he was forced to be a star. He's not a real superstar in the fact that he is, an all-star or whatever, but he was kind of forced to be there because someone had to take that role of Kawhi Leonard for the Raptors, and it was him. And while I do think he is a little overhated, I could see how you can kind of dislike him, especially after that atrocious Celtics series and playoff series in general. That bubble was not nice to him. It definitely changed a lot of people's perspective of Pascal. So yeah, anyone else got any takes on Siakam?
I do. So the bubble showed, like when he was going against the Celtics, he showed that he's a second option. With Kawhi, he was a great second option to Kawhi. He was going to score when Kawhi couldn't, even though Kawhi was a scorer at will. He showed himself that he's a good second option, but he's not a superstar. He's just a good player, not like that great.
Okay. Paul George, another player who it just seems like out of nowhere became super hated. So I would like to talk about this one first. Paul George it's crazy how 2 years ago he was probably one of the most liked players in the Thunder. He was top 3 in MVP, top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year, and ever since he went to LA, it just seems like I don't know. He's been the butt of so many jokes, playoff P, pandemic P. The list goes on of those nicknames that you can give him, but I don't know. I think he's a beast. I think he's definitely overhated and honestly quite underrated. He's a huge part of that Clippers team, and watching them on the floor without him it's just not the same. And I saw a video saying that that him and Kawhi are a failed experiment just after one playoff series, which I think is ridiculous because I feel as though the Lakers versus Clippers could definitely that could be Clippers could win that series easily because I think they match up very well against that Lakers team. So yeah, I think Paul George is definitely overhated, and he's a beast. I still think he's a top 15 to 20 player.
I know, but people hate him because of the series he had against the Nuggets last year.
Exactly, but that's why I think it's unfair to
The
hate on
bubble is
one playoff series.
unreliable.
Yeah, you can't really like.
Yeah,
In the bubble, we saw like fluke players. I mean,
TJ
we've seen
Warren.
we've seen players though that perform the bubble, like Gary Trent Jr. He did good, and he's still good now. But you can't solely judge a player based on their bubble performance. I mean, people. It's just like hard to explain. I mean, you can't judge a player. It's like judging someone off of 9 games and saying that they suck. I mean, he did underperform, but we can't forget that he's Paul George and he's still a very good defender and he's a good two-way player.
And it was like TJ Warren. He's not like in the bubble. Everyone was calling him like the best, but like in the bubble, which he really wasn't. And Paul George 2 years ago was an MVP candidate. He was the top 3 in MVP votes. So.
Okay.
I think at this point, Paul George is underrated as hell because he's getting no respect for the stats he's putting up and how he's carrying the Clippers to a playoff run again. So I think he should be getting more respect for what he's doing.
Okay. I had to kick Matt. Bradley Beal. I have strong opinions on Bradley Beal, but someone else can go first. So who wants to talk about Bradley Beal?
I'll talk on Bradley. I think that Bradley is a very good player. I feel like he doesn't get enough respect or I feel like he's a bit underrated right now because he's like kind of like secretly almost been carrying the Wizards to a lot of their wins. He's one of the best scorers in the league this year. And I don't think a lot of people see him as like one of the top shooting guards, which is what he should be. So yeah, I think he's a bit underrated right now.
Ryan, would you want to talk?
I think Beal. I have to respect his stats, the points he's been putting up, but especially with Westbrook now coming back to form, as it seems, taking over the star role of that team. I think he's a little overrated. Like example, him being a all-star starter in the All-Star game. I don't think that was warranted. I know he's a great player, but at that time he was on a bad team. You can't really be like a bad player when you're on a like terrible team. And he was the main scoring option, only to getting the ball. He's expected to put up those points. I have to respect the points he puts up, the numbers. He's a great scorer, great shooting guard, but I think he is overrated.
Yeah, I definitely agree. If you guys don't know this, the viewers, but I have very strong opinions towards Bradley Beal, which have been the butt of many arguments. Bradley Beal, I think, is definitely overrated. Look, we're so used to we're so used to the leading scorer of the NBA, like being one of the elite guys, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, all those guys have led the league in scoring at one point. I don't think LeBron, but one up there. And Bradley Beal it's curious because he's on a horrible team. The Wizards are not that good. And he is kind of forced, play hero ball a little bit and score for the Wizards. So I think we're so used to the leading scorer being this elite guy, and now that it isn't, we're still kind of trying to convince ourselves that Bradley Beal is, one of the probably the best shooting guard in the league, which I think is completely false.
Yeah, and I think Bradley Beal overrated because he's not really shooting well this season. Like his shooting percentage isn't the greatest. It's 338, which like that's not the best 3-point percentage because he's taking so many shots. And I think the team he's on inflates his stats a little, even though he's a great scorer. If he was on another team with other superstars, he's not scoring at will this much because he's gonna have to spread the wealth.
Okay, we'll do two more, and then we'll move on to a Sporkle quiz. So, let's see who's on. We have a long list. So,
I think we should do
Rudy Gobert. Ryan is a Jazz fan, so I think we should let him talk.
This is a biased opinion, but I think Rudy Gobert gets way too much hate for what he's warranted, especially with these last few games he's been playing. I know his contract is too big. That was stupid. And he absolutely deserves the hate for that, but he's just defensive player of the year again and again. He's going to get it this year too. If he doesn't, the NBA is rigged. There's nothing else. And even for putting up 10, 15, 20 points a game, I just feel like he's a good two-way player. He locks up the paint. I feel like he gets way too much hate for what he's warranted.
Cam, Sean, or Ramel, you guys, or even AJ, you guys haven't talked in a little bit. So when you guys want to make an opinion on Gobert?
I do. I think he's rated perfectly. He's a great defender. I just hate him because of coronavirus.
I can definitely see that. AJ, Sean, Cam, any of you guys?
Underrated. He is overhated, so he's underrated, in my opinion.
Okay, he's one of those examples, like the overhated to underrated.
I agree with AJ. I think that he's a very good player. Definitely he's definitely one of the front runners, if not the depoy this year. But he does get a lot of hate, which I don't think is very deserved, but unfortunately he gets it.
And Sean?
I think Rudy Gobert is underrated just because he gets too much hate for that COVID incident he had. He's still a great player and probably the best defensive player in the league, so I think he's really underrated.
I definitely feel like that contract and him having coronavirus and all of that, it's just kind of been a bad storm. It's kind of resulted in him being one of the most hated players in the league, which is it shouldn't be because he's a good guy. He's the best rim defender in the league. He's just dominant on the defensive side. So I definitely think the hate is definitely unwarranted, and we have to get over that corona because he may have saved lives. So Zach.
I think this is a first case of a player that's perfectly rated. I mean, I don't see anyone overrating him, putting him in top 3. But yet again, I don't see anyone underrating him, putting him outside the top 10. I feel like everyone knows that he's a top 4 or 5 center. I mean, him and Bam are interchangeable. Everyone knows that he brings great defense. I mean, he was a bit underrated in the beginning, but when people watch him play, people just know that he's just out there. He plays great defense, grabs boards, catches lobs. So I feel like he's perfectly rated.
Okay, last one before our Sporkle quiz. Ben Simmons. So this has been highly requested.
Yes. I do not like Ben Simmons. No,
Okay,
no.
explain why.
I do not like him. I don't know. I just don't like him.
You just don't like. I could see that.
I don't like him.
Ben
I'm a
Jenner.
Celtic. I'm doing this.
I want to speak before Lewis. I want to say something real quick. I think he's defensive player of the year, and I think he's the next Magic Johnson. I really like the way he plays.
Okay.
Nah, bro, you can't get away with that.
I mean,
Ugh.
that was definitely his draft. He was drafted, as the next Ben Simmons, as the next Magic Johnson. I don't think he is Magic Johnson by any means, but he definitely has similar play styles you could compare. So Ryan and then Lewis.
I think Ben Simmons is a fake all-star. That he gets his defensive stats for being a forward playing point guard position, being 5 feet taller than the person he's matched against. It's stupid. He's not a winner. He's just terrible. He's not defensive player of the year. That's my verdict. He's overrated.
In my opinion, he's like the same as because him and Rudy Gobert have similar scoring, but Rudy Gobert's at his position. Like he's defending people at his position, while Ben Simmons is guarding people like Kemba Walker, who is 6 foot, and he's like almost an inch taller than him. Which, if he was born, he's a power forward. That's what he is. He's a power forward playing point guard.
Ryan, this is for you. Is any of the Ben Simmons hate warranted because you're a Donovan Mitchell fan and their beef during the Rookie of the Year?
That does contribute to it because he was a fake rookie at the time. He cheated, and he didn't even earn it anyway, even if he wasn't. So,
what is he trying to win his 4th straight Rookie of the Year? Okay. So now let's do a Sporkle quiz. So I'm going to share my screen. Hold on. So what do you got? What's some Sporkle quizzes you guys would want to do?
Oh, let's do the top 100 players.
Yeah.
And we have to guess them.
Or just do it
Okay.
all time or current.
Yeah, shout out Kenny Beecham. I know he did that, but let's go.
Google Chrome. Share. Okay. I'm not on Sporkle. Sporkle. All right. NBA quizzes. I paused our meet, so it'll hopefully just resume right back onto this.
We're just not gonna talk about Shy.
I'm sorry, AJ. He's underrated. I think we all can see that. All right, guys, we are back. So we have our Sporkle quiz in front of us. We're going to be doing the top 100 NBA players going into the 2019-2020 NBA season. Let's begin.
Mickey first. Ugh.
I think this is this year. Okay, let's play. So first off, LeBron James. I think we all
Disney.
Oh, there. Clippers.
Kawhi.
Why?
Kiwi Leonard.
KD, Giannis, Steph,
All right, shut up.
Harden.
Durant.
KD didn't play last year.
Yeah, KD, Giannis.
Antetokounmpo.
Eric, just put in all the basic stuff, and then we'll try.
Did I spell it wrong?
Yeah.
No, just put in Giannis. Just put in Giannis.
There.
But yeah,
All right,
Curry.
Curry.
Harden.
Harden.
Oh yeah, he was on the
Anthony
Rockets.
Oh, I just said Disney.
Anthony
It's so ingrained in
Davis.
my head. It's Davis.
Eric.
Sixers. Embiid.
Joel Embiid.
Embiid,
Nikola.
Jokic.
Joker,
I'm gonna do all the
George.
PG.
PG.
yeah, PG,
Wow.
Dame,
Lillard.
Dame.
Dame, Dalla,
Paul George is above Dame.
Oh, Chris Paul.
Westbrook,
Chris
Westbrook,
Paul.
Oh, what? You're
Whoa.
behind.
Westbrook. Russell Westbrook.
This was a while ago.
Thompson.
Clay.
This is old.
Yeah, Klay Thompson.
Kyrie.
Kyrie.
Kemba.
Tatum.
Kemba. Oh, what?
Oh,
What?
Oh,
Like
Kemba.
Kemba.
What?
There's no
curveball.
No way.
Oh my god! Oh
Wow.
my god!
That just shows you
Holy-
how much
No
the league
way.
has changed.
Kemba robbed the
Holy
Celtics.
shit.
Wow.
Celtics
Donovan.
fans are on smoke.
Jazz
Still
Mitchell.
there.
Spider D. Mitchell.
You guys
Gobert.
not.
You guys not see the position?
Oh,
Position.
Drummond?
yeah, I didn't see it.
Drummond.
Oh, it says positions.
Wait,
Yeah, that's
no,
Blake
that's
Griffin.
Blake. That's
Griffin.
Blake.
Because
Yeah.
Blake,
Blake-
you
no
gotta remember,
way.
He
Yeah,
was
no,
all
Blake-
NBA
Oh.
team.
Look.
No, that's when Blake was
Yeah.
good. That was his last
Yeah.
good year.
Yeah, they made
Heat,
it.
Butler.
Is that Jimmy?
Jimmy.
Was he on the Heat?
Jimmy.
Cat.
Towns.
Cat.
Cat.
Towns.
Oladipo.
Boston.
Oladipo.
Oladipo.
Yeah, this is around the time.
Yeah,
he
that was
down here.
good.
Wizards.
Beal.
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 Wizards.
Wall.
Wall.
It's a John Wall.
Wall.
Wall didn't play for like
Lamarcus.
a year.
Lamarcus.
Or-
Oh, it's a
Aldridge.
guard.
DeMar.
DeRozan.
DeRozan.
Yeah, it's
DeRozan.
DeRozan. It's a guard.
Yeah.
Magic.
Vucevic.
Magic.
Vooch.
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 Spurs.
Lamarcus.
Oh, yeah, it's
Aldridge.
Mark. Luca.
Luka.
Luka.
Lucas.
Oh my God, Luca's below Lamarcus. Hold up.
That's KP.
Whoa.
What?
Oh, it's
What?
Porzingis.
Porzingis?
KP. Yeah,
Really?
Porzingis.
Simmons.
Ben.
Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons.
Bucks.
Middleton.
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 Middle.
I feel like
It's
Raptors.
probably
Oh,
Wall.
this
That's
was
Siakam.
Lowry?
Siakam.
Siakam.
Oh, wow.
It's forward. Yeah.
Warriors. Green.
Draymond. Yeah. Who else?
Clay.
This is a
Clay
guard.
Thompson.
No,
Oh,
we already
what's
had
it?
Clay.
What's
I
it?
know he's not there. Yeah.
No, Clay's the next.
Oh, is it Russell?
It's a.
Oh,
Oh,
it's D'Lo. I
Oh,
forgot he
yeah.
was
Oh,
on the
D'Lo.
Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pelicans. Holiday.
Hello.
It's
Mhm.
a holiday.
Jazz.
yeah. Gobert.
Mitchell.
Clarkson.
Right?
No,
I already got
Conley,
this.
Conley.
Oh, yeah.
Conley.
Ramel Mitchell's right above.
Blake-
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I know. Right.
CJ.
CJ McCollum.
right.
Cavaliers.
Cavs.
Oh,
That's
no,
Kevin.
shit.
Kevin Love.
Yeah, love.
Sixers.
Tobias.
Harris.
Toby.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Was it wait,
Whoa.
was it
Oh, it's
what
Horford.
was it?
Horford.
Hey, you
Horford.
cheating.
Horford. Oh, can you
What's
spell?
Nobody.
Kings.
Fox.
De'Aaron
Fox.
Fox.
De'Aaron.
Fox.
Yeah.
We should have talked about him being
Pella.
underrated.
Hello.
Hello.
Devin Booker.
Booker.
Booker. Wow.
Booker.
Boomer.
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 Lakers center.
Trey. Ice Trey.
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 Bro, type it. You good?
Oh, I was thinking at Lakers center. I was like, Trey who?
Put your mask on.
Lakers center.
Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard.
JaVale McGee.
White.
Dwight
I don't
Howard.
know.
Lakers
JaVale.
center.
Davis.
No.
No,
he already
AD
had
AD's
it.
there.
Yeah.
McGee.
JaVale, no.
It's Dwight Howard. Put Dwight Howard.
Then
Put Howard. Put
No, he was not on the team, I think.
Oh,
in Dwight Howard. Put in
Put
Howard.
Dwight Howard.
yeah, Trey Dwight.
Mhm.
What?
Wow.
Shit.
Oh, Trey.
You know-
Romel.
Trey.
No, it's
Oh,
not. This
Watch
is
it.
That's like 2 years ago. That's not Trez.
Who was the
not
Lakers
Trez?
center
Jimmy
with?
Butler on the Heat. They have Jimmy Butler on the Heat.
JaVale.
It's not JaVale.
Nobody
All right,
asked
we'll
for
skip it. We'll skip it.
Don't.
Just put it.
We'll accidentally get it.
Put in Trez.
Pistons.
Put in Harold.
That's
Drummond.
That could be Christian Wood.
Whoa.
It's like 2 years
Nuggets. Murray.
Jamal.
Clippers.
Pat Bev.
Williams?
Or Lou Will.
Is it
Lou
Pat
Will.
Bev?
Will.
Knicks forward. Randall.
Mm-hmm.
Bulls.
Even at the time.
Levine. Wow.
Wait.
Lavin.
Wow, that's really disrespectful. Thunder.
Oh, Steven Adams.
Serge. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Adams.
Hawks
Serge.
forward.
John Collins.
Collins.
That's Gallo.
AJ knows his thunder. Let him do it.
Scaldar.
That was
Clippers.
Montrez.
Trez.
Montrez.
Montrez.
Trezzel.
Jusuf Nurkic.
Or
Nurkic.
Whiteside. Could be Whiteside.
No.
Bucks
Come on, Sean.
guard.
That's
What'd
fair.
you get?
Brogdon.
Bledsoe.
It
Bledsoe.
is Bledsoe.
Bledsoe.
That is ridiculous. I am
Really?
so sorry.
Jalen Brown that low?
Jalen. Oh
Wait,
my
what?
God.
Hmm?
What?
What's it
Gordon
done?
Hayward. Gordon Hayward.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
we
that's
Tatum.
Hayward.
Oh,
Oh.
that's right. Hayward.
Hayward.
Bro, we need to get an updated
Keep
list.
forgetting. You get an
Why'd
updated
you
list.
Why'd you pick this quiz, bro?
Because
Is that Pau Gasol?
Bulls.
Pau Gasol.
forward.
No, he was never on.
Thaddeus Young.
Laurie Marketing.
Do they really have?
No.
It's
Right.
Marketing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wait, Lewis.
Aiton.
Aiden.
Aiden.
Hayden.
Heat guard.
Dragic.
Yeah, Dragic or Harrod. No,
No.
Dragic.
Harrow.
No.
Stop saying-
Sixers
Bro.
guard.
JJ.
Nah.
Reddick.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Uh-oh.
What?
I was on the
Pelicans.
Pelicans.
Fultz.
It's like tough.
Fultz.
No,
No.
actually, no, it might be
No.
Fultz. Nah.
It's not Fultz.
It's tough because you don't know like the time period.
He's like
Mhm.
guard, yeah.
Well, you kind of forget. 2 years ago isn't long on
What year
paper,
is
but
this?
this is 2019 to 2020.
Sixers.
2019.
So this was
So that's
last
last
year.
year, right? Last
This
year.
was last year. So this is the Anthony Davis and LeBron Lakers.
Matisse, Thibault.
Oh, it's
No.
still
No.
Yeah,
hating LeBron. Like,
All right, we'll skip that. We'll go back to that.
just yeah.
Who was their
Pacers.
shooting guard at the time?
Sabonis
Pacers.
or Turner.
Oh, he's low. So
Turner.
What?
Ooh, Sabonis.
Sabonis
Kings
is-
guard.
Hey.
Buddy.
Healed.
Healed.
Lakers forward.
Scroll down,
Kuzma.
buddy.
Scroll
Kuz.
down.
Kuz.
Kuzma.
Kuzma Kyle.
Zion.
Is that Ingram?
That's probably
Zion.
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 That's
Oh,
Ingram.
He didn't play an
Ingram.
NBA
It's
game
Ingram.
yet.
Bro, Ingram below Kuzma.
Oh, Ingram.
Oh yeah.
Net center Allen.
Yeah, Allen.
No, it's
Oh.
DeAndre Jordan.
That is ridiculous.
No way. That is
That-
criminal.
Oh
That
my
is so
God.
bad.
Fix
That is
the,
awful.
this is wrong. Like even then.
Wow.
So terrible.
Piston center. Is that?
Luka
Oh,
Kennard.
guard. Sorry.
Luke Kennard. Luke
Um,
Kennard.
That's probably is Kennard.
Mhm.
Or Luke Kennard, yeah. Jackson.
No.
Reggie
Reggie
Jackson.
Jackson.
Nah, he's.
Reggie Jackson.
Jaren.
Oh, Rose.
Oh yeah.
Wiggins. That's kind of disrespectful. Like you think Wiggins at that time was worse than?
Wait, Eric.
No,
Eric.
Yeah.
Bogdan.
Joe
Bogdan-
Ingles.
For the Lakers,
Bogdanovich.
no, Bogdan's,
was it?
he's a fraud.
was it-
Bogdan.
I remember it was a guy that it was like Devontae something for
Graham.
the Lakers center. No,
No.
Could be
it was like
Subats.
no. It had like a C as the last name.
I don't know.
Was
We'll
it
just
Dwight
see.
Howard? Did you try Dwight Howard?
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right.
Tried that.
Jazz forward Bogdanovich.
Yeah.
Joe
You don't
Ingles.
know how to spell that.
Oh, I know how to. It's Cacok. CACOK.
What?
No.
CACOK. Was he? Was
No
it
way
him?
he's better than Jamal Murray or Levine.
No.
Oh no, it wasn't him.
Stop.
Magic
He's
forward.
He's the only other
Aaron
center that I
Gordon.
can remember.
Aaron Gordon.
Aaron Gordon.
Celtics guard.
Jalen Brown.
Marcus
That's probably
Smart.
smart.
Marcus
It's probably-
Smart.
It's probably
Smart.
smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's guard.
I think I know the
Levert.
center.
Levert.
Levert.
Whoa.
Dinwiddie.
Who's above him?
Dinwiddie.
Yeah, that's right.
Ja. Oh no, not Ja. It's Jonas
Valanciunas.
Valanciunas.
Jonas.
All right, we don't know how to spell that.
Jonas.
No, just
What
put
the hell are you
Jonas.
doing?
Put his
Eric,
first
just put
name.
That's
Valen.
not-
Just put Valen.
Put his first name.
Put Jonas.
Oh, I got it.
That's like Lewis Grimmer.
MPJ.
Yeah.
MPGA.
No, Michael Porter Jr. never played a game at this point.
It's JaVale.
It's
Is
Millsap.
is it Beasley?
Oh, it is Millsap.
Trailblazers.
Center.
Whiteside.
That's probably yeah. What's it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Bucks center.
Bucks.
Brooke Lopez.
Brooke
Lopez.
Brooke.
Brooke.
Timberwolves.
Wiggins.
Wolves.
We did
Wiggins.
Wiggins.
Jermaine Grant is a.
Uh,
I know it's.
Nobody plays for
Timberwolves
Timberwolves.
forwards.
Shit.
I have no
Just-
idea.
Just
No,
skip
hold
it.
on.
I don't know that
I
one.
think I know the
Skip.
center for the Lakers.
Kings forward.
Bro, you
Bogdanovich.
skipped the Cavs.
No,
yeah.
Eric. It's
Oh,
not
my
Bog-
fault.
It's Harrison
Sexton.
Barnes.
Oh,
Yeah, the young bull.
Barnes.
Barnes.
Young Bull.
Thunder guard.
Pedal.
Shy.
Thunder. No. Yeah. It is shy.
Yeah, it's Shy.
Just type
Why-
shy. What is wrong with you?
Put Shy.
What are
Yeah.
you doing?
Oh, we hate
Why are
you.
you so
It
extra?
wouldn't work if I put my the
What
first
is
name.
wrong with you?
Pat Bev.
There's one guy named Sean in the
Also in the
league.
league. Yeah.
Clippers guard.
Bev.
Beverly. That's ridiculous.
Then it's Norman Powell.
Bev.
Norman
He's
Powell.
Terrible. Above Jaren
Mhm.
Jackson. Oh boy.
Eric, I know who the Lakers center is, or the Lakers center.
Don't spoil it.
It's
Eric
McGee.
Surge.
It's not jail. We already
Lewis,
tried it.
we
Lewis.
did JaVale
Yeah, we did JaVale and Dwight Howard.
hours
Lewis,
ago.
you're a fool.
Eric Surge.
Ibaka. Raptors guard.
Kyle Lowry.
Van Fleet.
Hey, Van
Oh,
Fleet.
Van-
That's
Yeah,
that's
Van
what he
Fleet.
broke out.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Kings
Oh,
forward.
That's
Rashawn.
Bogdan.
Sean.
That's Sean.
It's not Holmes.
Home.
This shot.
Sean, say it.
Bogdanovich? Oh, I know who it is. It's Malik Beasley.
No. All right.
Sure.
Suns forward.
Scroll down. Scroll down.
Crowder.
Dario Saric. Saric.
Oh, yeah,
No.
sure.
It's
No,
Darius
was he on the
Saric.
Sixers? He was on
Yeah.
Sixers or Suns.
Suns forwards. Well, Mitchell Robinson. I just see the last one, so I'm just gonna put Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
We'll work our way
Try,
up.
try Crowder.
And
Was
Joe
McCall
Ingles.
there?
Was
Joe
he-
Ingles.
Was McCall there?
Jingles.
Oh.
The Jingles.
Was it Bridges?
Nah, it's not.
No.
Try Morris. Try Marquise Morris.
Suns forward.
Suns and Kings. We are struggling on this one.
There we go.
Kings forward, isn't it Badgley or DeVere?
I think you just want to give up.
No, hold on.
Hold on, no.
Wait, was Oubre at the Suns at that time? or no?
Oh,
it is
Oubre.
Uber.
There it is.
Hey.
Kings.
Try
Sorry.
Bielitsa.
No, it's definitely not Bielitsa.
Try it.
I'm not trying to spell his name. I think we should just end it here.
No, hold on.
Oh,
No,
we
Zach
gotta
ran up.
finish it.
Zebo. Bagley. That's who it is. Bagley.
Bagley.
Baglet.
Oh,
Hey.
All right, Timberwolves.
Boy, search it up. The boy
Who's
searched
that
it up.
Lakers center? Who's the Lakers center?
Center. Wait,
you gotta get the Lakers center.
All right, we're switching it up. I'm just gonna give up.
No.
Hey.
Don't fold.
Oh!
It
I-
wasn't.
I was
Josh Richards.
Yeah, but
Josh
I was
Richardson.
thinking Booker. I was thinking about
Oh,
Booker, but I
Rocco.
forgot.
Oh, yeah, he got released, bro. DeMarcus Cousins is a
Yeah.
scrub.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're done.
We're done.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to podcast number 2 of the Funny Money Podcast. I had a fun time, and I'll be looking forward for our next episode. So thank you guys, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace.
Nice.